Hello viewers, welcome to another episode of Teacher on Duty channel. Today we are honored to have Mr. Collins Odhiambo. Mr. Collins Odhiambo is an author and a parenting coach. He has authored a book, Parenting Now and Beyond. You'll agree with me when I say that parenting has been a challenge and a puzzle to many. So today we embark on a journey of giving you facts and helping you parents on how to go about it. Karibu sana. Hello, Mr. Collins.
Hello, teacher on duty.
Karibu sana.
Nice to meet you.
Asante, karibu.
Yeah, you know, teachers are always on duty.
We are.
Thank you so much. Coincidentally, I'm also a teacher.
Wonderful.
So professionally, I'm a teacher, and I'm very honored to be here today just to share the insights about parenting. Karibu sana. So thank you for that very good introduction. Basically, that is my myself in a nutshell. As you've said, I've authored a book, Parenting Now and Beyond. And before we start, I think it is important for us to make a disclaimer that parenting has no manual. So parenting has no manual, and there are only best practices. So the reason why we are saying parenting has no manual, because we have to appreciate humanity. Humanity in itself is unique. And every person was made in their own likeness and ability and everything. And therefore, we cannot have one formula for all. So parenting has no manual, but one thing we must agree is that parenting has best practices. So we'll basically give you a little bit of insights on what parenting is today and what we are supposed to do. So there are several assumptions about parenting, and those are the areas that we are going to touch on today, of course, in details. Some of these assumptions in parenting is that children come from us. Children do not come from us. Children basically come through us. And we make an assumption that children come from us, so we own them. So all parents are talking about my child, my son, my daughter, and they don't appreciate the fact that God has given them an opportunity to bring life into this world. So when God gives you an opportunity to bring life into the world, then that is what you need to appreciate. So, teacher on duty, you will bear me witness that even yourself as you're growing up, we were owned at some point. And our parents they never wanted us to be out of a box that they formed, which some of us were not able to fit in. And I'll, of course, get to that when we start talking about teenagers. So basically, one thing that I would want to tell parents today is that, number one, we must first of all detach ourselves and appreciate children as unique human beings, and do not get them into a box and say, my child, you need to be this, you need to be that, you need to be all that. So children do not come from us. They just come through us. So God has given us an opportunity to bring life into this world. We need to appreciate that fact. So once we bring the life, then now what do we do next? And I think that is the conversation that we are going to have today. Yes.
Thank you. I'm curious.
Yes.
What initially made you to become a writer? I'm curious about that.
About parenting.
About parenting, writing about parenting.
Okay, so as a teacher, I've authored the course books, of course, content that is taught in schools. But out of experience and interacting with the young people, and especially teenagers, I realized that these children basically do not have problems. We do not have problems, but we carry problems into parenting. Parenting does not have problems, but we carry problems into parenting. And therefore, we start having conflicts because we do not understand these are unique human beings that God gave us. So having talked to teenagers and young children and listening to them, especially when they're having disciplinary cases in schools, and then you ask them, why did you do this, or why did you say this, or why did you do the other one, and then you listen to what is not said. So one thing that I do most of the time is that I listen more to what is not said. So when you listen to especially teenagers, they speak a lot with their body language. So if you're able to listen to those spaces, then you get to understand where they're coming from. So my inspiration came from the fact that I realized that these young people do not have problems. The issue is about the adults that handle these children. And therefore, instead of fixing the child, I thought we need to fix the parent. And when we fix the parent, then we have fixed the future generation. So if you look at the book, it's actually made in chapters. Like chapter 1 is one of my favorite, is deciding which child you want to bring up. So the parents, those who are listening to this right now, is which child are you bringing up? You need to decide which child you're going to bring up. And there are 3 categories. As a parent, are you bringing up the child you gave birth to, the physical child in the house, or are you bringing up the child that you wished you had? And most ladies will bear me witness, anytime they're planning to have children and, they have this child in their mind. My child should be like this, my child will be like this is the kind of a child I would want to have. They have these fantasies and imaginations and everything. And you go to the hospital and the baby is there. Now you have a physical child. So, and then there are this other category that brings up the younger self. And this is the biggest percentage. Most of our parents bring up their younger self. Why? Because they have failed ambitions. They have fantasies that were never met. They had ambitions that were never accomplished. And one thing I also want to tell parents, children are not an extension of yourself. Some of parents think that children are an extension of themselves. So the things that they never achieved, the things that the ambitions, the fantasies that they never accomplished, they want to do that through their children. And that means they are actually solving their unmet needs, their unmet fantasies through their children. So it is important for parents to decide the child they're going to bring up. Are you bringing up your younger self? Are you bringing up the child you gave birth to? Or are you bringing up the one that you wished you had? So parenting begins from there. Which child am I going to bring up? Once you identify that, then you're good to go. So basically, the inspiration, like you've had, came from the fact that I realized where the main problem was, and that was the parent, not the child.
Asante sana.
Yes.
In your words, how can you define modern parenting?
Modern parenting is basically getting to understand the child that you are bringing up. And like I said at the beginning, that parenting has no manual. So every child in a family is unique.
Yeah.
So modern parenting is investing in understanding the child that you gave birth to. Once you understand, we cannot parent from a point of I know it all. Or, and sometimes we also do comparison, which is one of the biggest mistake parents do. So, for example, John is your firstborn and James is your secondborn. So you will parent James the way you parented John. It doesn't work that way. And John can never be James. So modern parenting is basically going to take parents a notch higher. Parenting for sure should be a skill that every parent should learn. We actually need to go to school and learn these skills, because if we don't learn these skills, there's some basic concepts that all of us need to have. So modern parenting, to me, how I would define it, is making sure that you understand the child that you want to bring up. When you understand the child that you want to bring up, then parenting becomes easier, because now you will have these concepts that we're going to talk about, these skills that we are going to share today. With those skills and understanding the person you want to parent, you're good to go. So there is no specific definition that would fit modern parenting, but I would break it down in terms of, if you understand the person you're bringing up and you have the right skills, then you're in the right parenting definition. Yes.
I like the approach. Once you've understood the person you're bringing up,
Yes.
then everything will be smooth, yeah?
Yes.
Highlight to us some of the challenges that parents face during the parenting period.
There are several, but I will highlight a few. Number one is there are parenting phases. So we have 4 distinct parenting phases. So phase 1 is basically between 0 to 5. 0 to 5 is where we teach discipline. So when your child is between 0 to 5 years, that time we are supposed to be teaching discipline. Don't eat with your mouth opened. Don't sit on the table. And I will also talk about how to give those instructions. So I'm using these words very categorically because this is what we tell our children. Don't sit on the table. Don't eat with your mouth opened. Don't touch this. Don't do that. We use a lot of negativity while giving instructions. And I will tell you, and any psychologist will bear me witness, that our brains were not wired to process negativity. And that is why we have the ability to remember all the bad things that people did to us. But we forget the good ones that were done. So today, teacher on duty, if you talked to me in a way that I don't like, I will forget about all the good things that we had, all the good conversations. So when we tell our children, and sometimes parents wonder, why is it that when I tell my child, don't sit on the table, that is what he does or she does? You know, don't eat with your mouth open. That is exactly the next 2 minutes. That's what they do. They tend to do the opposite. It's not them. It's the way instructions are given to them. So challenge number one is communication. How do we give instructions? For example, why is it we are so much quick to tell our children what not to do instead of telling them what to do? For example, you want to teach your child that when you're eating, you need to sit on the chair. Just tell the child what the child needs to do, not what not to do.
Sit on the chair.
Yes, sit on the chair. Why do we need to say, don't sit on the table? You see, so the way we give instructions, we are supposed to tell our children what to do, not what not to do. But most of the time it is our default language. Yeah. Usishike hivo, usifanye fulani, you know, all those things. So when we are giving instructions to our children, we need to speak positivity, because that is what they're going to pick. So when we are speaking to our children and we are giving instructions, so communication is number one challenge. Number two is a relationship. So how do you relate with your child? I normally say this, that being a father and a mother, that business ends in the hospital, in the labor ward. As soon as you get your child out of the hospital,
Done.
being a father and a mother is done. Your duty of being a father and a mother is done. Now you need to be a parent. And what is the difference between the two? Anybody can be a father. Anybody can be a mother. But not everybody can be a parent.
Wow.
So we need to change our capacity as a father and a mother and transition into parenting and be a parent. So what are we supposed to do? When we are parents, we are now like coaches. We need to identify the strengths of our players. We need to understand our players. We need to understand the size of the field. We need to understand the game that we are in. Once we do that, then we become better coaches. So like I was telling you, the first challenge is that we have an issue of communication. We have an issue of relationship. Do we relate to our children as a father? When do we become fathers and mothers? And when are we supposed to be parents? Being a father and a mother are very small parts of the journey of parenting. We are supposed to be parents all through. But being a father and a mother, we need them in documentation. Who is your father? You can write the name. Very basics.
Oh.
But who are you to your child? You're supposed to be a parent. So between 0 to 5, you're basically doing discipline. Those basic things. You know, how do you greet visitors? You know, the things that you were told. How do you spread your bed? You know, all those things. You need to brush your teeth and all those things. By 5 to 12, you're teaching skills. Now you can spread your bed. Let us spread your... Can you brush your shoes? Are you able to put on your clothes properly? Are you able to arrange your room? Are you able to manage your time in terms of your timetable, in terms of your study, in terms of all those things? How do you tie your shoelace? You know, are you able to do grooming? So we are teaching skills. Are you able to fix an omelette, fix breakfast, wash your clothes, you know? That one we are now teaching skills. Now the problem is that some of us and most of parents wait until the child hits 12. And between 0 and that 12, when you're teaching discipline and skills, that is the time you have good audience. An audience that will not ask questions, an audience that is not going to challenge anything that you do. They will always listen and do. So on Sunday, people are going to church. The clothes are already set up, the shoes and everything. So shower, your clothes are here, we are going to church. And they do exactly that. But this now with the modern community has even reduced. Today, even an 8-year-old You struggle to choose for them clothes. They will tell you, no, I'm not putting on that. I don't want that shoe. Mom, I want to put on this. Dad, I want to do this. They're already having opinions. They're already having decision making because their development is a little bit fast. And I'm a teacher, but if you talk to psychologists, the way the brain develops, it develops into phases. And the reasoning is the one that comes almost last. And this is what we struggle with teenagers. So your child will be a very good audience, listens to you all the time, but when they hit 12, 13, the age that we call teenage, that is the time they want to ask you, who are you? Because all along, they have been seeing this person giving me instructions, telling me to do this, moving around. But when they hit 13, they want to understand, who are you? Then you introduce yourself as a father. What are you doing? You are bringing in authority, which is okay. But do they need authority at that time? When they want to start asking questions, they now need people who are humble enough to give answers. And the conflict we have between parents and their teenagers is because they extend childhood far too long. They still think they have the 0 to 12 who are able to take instructions, do as they say. So as our children grow, the way we prepare for our newborns, and the mothers will bear me witness, you have to buy things, buy this, you're getting ready because you're going to have a baby. Why don't we do that? When our children are no longer babies, they're now graduating to another stage of life, which is teenage. Do we do preparation? But for newborns, we even buy books. Mothers would buy books, how to do this, how to do this, how to carry, how to breastfeed. They study, they get knowledge. And when the baby arrives, they are ready. They have all the skills. And then when the baby grows, they assume the work is done. So we are not investing in parenting as something that we need to do for the coming society. So when you reach 13, you're now becoming a coach. You're now coaching the child to implement the skills you taught between 5 and 12. You're now coaching. Now you're allowing them to do. They make mistakes. You correct them. You expose them. Now that time goes, but when they reach 18, and sometimes it goes even up to 20, now they no longer need a coach. They no longer need somebody's skills. They need a friend. They now need a friend, somebody they can chat with. Somebody they can tell, what, Dad, I have a girlfriend, or my girlfriend did tell me this and that, and I'm feeling so hurt and everything, or my boyfriend dumped me and now I don't know how to deal with this issue. When we don't invest in those 4 phases that I've said, then our children start struggling when they get into the dating world. And instead of coming to us as parents, they run to people that we don't trust because the friendship is not there. There is only authority. So you remained a father all through. You never became a parent. So we must intentionally decide to graduate ourselves from being a mother to a parent, being a father to a parent.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. Hey, I'm really getting something from that. Mr. Collins, technology has its pros and cons. Yes. And one of the questions that I face mostly with my parents is when they start asking me, Mwalimu, how do I regulate this screen time? Mwalimu, please help me to understand how can I manage this device. Yes, I bought for her a mobile phone. How am I able to regulate this? Because it is being an issue. Parents are complaining that their kids are always on the devices, always on the TV. Please help us to understand how can we regulate this and how can we make the child understand that as much as it is there, it's not something that we should spend most of the time on. Of course, it is a good side and has the bad side.
Technology is a good thing, and in parenting, parents are struggling because you can't run away from it. But as we talk about regulating technology, the use of technology with our children, are we in a position to regulate our use of technology as parents? Children basically do not do what we tell them to do. Children do not do what you tell them to do.
Come up again.
Children do not do what you tell them to do. They do what we do. So, you cannot tell a child that, you know what, put down your gadget. And even that time that you're telling your child to put on the gadget, you're not even looking at the child. You're on your phone yourself. So, can you put down that gadget and go and do your homework? And then your child, who is a teenager, questions and asks, but mom, you're also on your gadget.
You've been on phone for the whole time.
Yes, then you tell him or her, this is work. For me, I'm using my phone for work. You know, so you try to give, you try to validate an action which you're supposed to be correcting. So for us to be able to regulate, we must build a culture. And this is not cast on stone. Every family has different cultures. So there must be a culture within a family. So what is going to be our regulation in terms of, I know families that during dinner, all phones are put in a basket. And when you're on a dinner table, you're not supposed to have your phone. It applies to everyone. What are we teaching our children? We are teaching our children that they're double standards. We are teaching them that they are double standards. So there can be rules for a certain group of people, and these rules do not apply to a certain group of people. And these people are going to grow up to be leaders. These are going to be the leaders or managers who will be treating people differently based on the fact that, you know what, I am the manager, I am this, I am that, so I have these privileges. So how do we also train our children to be able to have some norm and structure in their lives by doing those small things? So number one, there has to be a structure. Number two, there has to be a culture of the use of technology. If in my family, for example, Wi-Fi goes off at 9. So everybody knows that by 9, if you had a research to do, you had homework to do, it's done. So everything else has to be done before 9 now. So it's a rule. So after 9, we need to have a conversation, because we are bringing up a generation that is not going to be able to have a conversation, because no one is giving them that opportunity. They are on your there are families that even communicate within the house through WhatsApp. One is in the other room, the other one is in the other room, the other one is in the other room. There's no time that families come together so that these children are able to have conversations. And if they're not able to have conversations, and we are social human beings, what kind of generation are we going to have? So when it comes to technology, it is not about control. It is about proper use of technology and the culture of how technology is going to be used. In different institutions, for example, in schools, technology is there, but there are regulations that everybody knows and everybody fits in. There are organizations that have regulations on how to use gadgets or phones. You don't go to a boardroom with your phone. When we are having a meeting, no one picks a phone, nobody touches the phone. The phones are not supposed to be seen. So it's a culture. So every organization can have a culture. That way, every family can also have a culture on how technology can be used. So it's all about regulating and making sure that technology is used for something that is beneficial. So every parent can be able to design whatever it is that they are going to do as a family based on their setup, when, how. There are some children who are given phones, but they're only given phones on Saturday from this time to that time. And whatever they do with their phones is also monitored. So the parents are struggling because they gave out technology before regulation. Now they want to bring regulation
after it's already in use.
After it is already been used and there's a culture that already the child has already formed. So why are you taking it back? So before you give a phone to your child, are there some regulations that you're going to put? So I'm giving you this phone, I've bought you the phone, but this is how it is going to be used. Do we agree? Okay. So those are going to be the rules. So next time you're going to pick it from him, you are not having any controversy or any brushing of shoulders, because it had already been explained. The problem is that we give it, once the mess has already happened or it is happening, now you want to withdraw it. And you're withdrawing it without explaining. I didn't expect you to do this, but how was I supposed to know that I was not supposed to do this? And then you think your child is rude. No. you are the person who has not done the right thing the right way. So before we introduce our children to technology, just like schools, there are rules. So that's what we need to do.
Ah, nice. In one of the chapters I've seen, you've highlighted how, as a parent, I'm able to prioritize my well-being and at the same time still manage to attend to my children's need. Please give us a highlight on that.
Like I said, children don't come from us, they come through us. So we are also an entity as a parent. And your children are also unique human beings that have destinies just like you do have. So there has to be good relationship. When we create good relationship with our children, we will not be able to worry about them. And that means we'll be able to have time for ourselves. But the problem that we're having is that we have our children attached to us. And therefore, you are having two people in one body. So you're struggling to do this balance because this person is not an entity. So we have to detach ourselves and be the parent and let the child be here. So when the child is here, our duty is to create a better environment for the child, and we will also have our own environment. But it is very difficult, especially for us Africans, to detach ourselves from our children. Our mothers will always use the word my child. Even to date, I'm still my mother's child, which I appreciate, and I love her so much. So we need to detach and see our children as unique human beings, authentic human beings that have destinies that we have nothing to do about. When we do that, then we empower them in that space and do not put them in our box. Our children are not supposed to be, actually we are not even supposed to be role models to our children.
What?
If we are going to produce another teacher on duty, why do we need to keep having babies? The next generation is never going to be better. We need to have somebody that is better than you. So your child is supposed to be better than you. But we assume that we are more advanced, intelligent than our children. It is not true. Our children are supposed to be more intelligent than us. So when we talk, and in the book I've talked about role modeling, when do we need a role model? So we can even learn from our children. But that is only if we allow them to be their own entity and look at them from this angle. That way we are going to have our well-being, we are going to have our space to take care of ourselves, and also appreciate this human being as an entity. So in terms of the balance of time and understanding your children, the trick is, number one, let your child be authentic and do not attach your failed ambitions, your fantasies, your unmet needs, your baggage to your child, which is a mistake that most of our parents do. So we need to, this was me, I was not able to do ABCD, I have this baggage, but this has nothing to do with this human being. So when we separate the two, then we are able to handle this as an entity and handle this as another entity. Sorry. So when all that is put in place, then we are able now to take care of ourselves. So that balance sometimes does not happen because we attach ourselves to our children. And we need to detach that and now just work around on the environment. So I usually give these examples when I'm doing parent coaching, that you don't need to worry about what your teenager is doing. You need to worry about the environment where you are bringing up your teenager. Because when you sort out the environment, you will not need to fix your child.
Environment plays a very key role in upbringing.
It plays almost 90%. Everything we are, we learned. Everything that we are doing today, we learned. And anything can be learned. So if my child is spending time in an environment where there are drug dealers that are not within the structures that I expect my child to learn, whatever I tell my child is useless. So long as this child is still going back to the same environment. So we need to be able to make sure that the environment is conducive. And that is why it is also important for you as a parent to choose regions, environment, places where you want your child to grow up in. So these are some of the things that we don't do. As parents, we are looking for, when we are looking for rental houses, we are looking at our budgets. Very few times we look at the environment. My child is going to be living in this kind of environment. How is this environment going to influence my child? And then you keep on punishing your child every single day. Who told you to go and do this? Who told you to go and do this? It is your problem as a parent, because this is a child who does not have fully developed brain to make proper right decisions. But you put this child in an environment that is always influencing this child to do these things. So every day your child finds himself on the wrong.
Picking up funny character from the environment.
And then in the evening unakuja unachapa mtoto. I told you not to do this. But the influence from the environment is too strong for the child to control. So at that point in time, you are the problem as a parent. Because this is a child. You've put the child in a very toxic environment, and you want that child to thrive and do things as you expect.
It can never happen.
It doesn't happen. So environment plays a very key role. And the decisions on where we are bringing up our children is key to parenting.
Nice. Chapter 11 of your book discusses discipline and punishment. It has been a very big bone of contention between the parents and also the teenagers. It's very hard for parents to decide on the mode and differentiate the two. Please, I'll talk to our viewers about the same.
Viewers, there's a very big difference between discipline and punishment. Punishment is where there is undesirable input to deter a behavior. So, for example, you are told you are punished, for example, for where I grew up and how I was brought up. And I thank those who brought me up, my parents. Those people are very serious when it came to physical punishment. At some point, I always say that we were brought up by terrorists. You know, so you could be beaten for not crying. You could be beaten for crying. You could be beaten for, you could be beaten for not talking. And if you talk, you could be beaten for talking. So basically, those were punishments, because there was some pain that was inflicted in us to stop us from doing certain things. We appreciate them. They did a good job. We turned up okay. But discipline is about training.
Discipline is about training.
Discipline is about training. Is how do we do it? For example, let me use a scenario. Your child has come from school and has gotten a grade of D, for example. Most of the time, and parents, let's stop this. Most of the time, we combine the child and the behavior that we want to correct, and we make that one entity. Nini mbaya na hii kichwa yako? What is this that is in your head that you are not able to even spread your bed? So we want to correct the act of spreading the bed. And the child is supposed to learn that skill. When we ask the child what is wrong with the head, we are not addressing the issue. So we need to separate skills that we want our children to learn from our children. So this is the advice. Like right now, children are at home. They're waiting to go back to school, and they're with their parents. There are parents who have scolded their children. They have talked about grades. They have asked, do you know how much money I pay in school? You have just been here, just moving around, doing a lot of nothing. You're not even reading. If you bring back these grades, you will not get into my house anymore. All those things. I'm not going to do this. We use threats. We use threats to push and shape our children into what we want them to be. This is punishment. Now, how do we discipline? Have the issue here, bring your child on your side and form a team to deal with the problem. You've gotten a D in mathematics. Now, John, come. Now, we need to see how do we improve the D to a C to a B. We. You have separated the D from the child.
No, it's teamwork.
Because, yes, that D is not a definition of your child. That is just a consequence of something that he did. But it is not a destiny of your child. So bring your child and form a team and deal with the issue. Now, John, this is how we spread a bed. Demonstrate, train. This is how we brush shoes. Then John will realize that my father is not, or my mother is not my enemy. My mother is always on my side. Then you use a lot of positive reinforcement. So your child sees that you are really working so hard together with him to make sure that something changes. Now, your child is going to have a positive attitude towards dealing with that, because you are forming rules together, you are forming strategies together. So John, what time is best for you in terms of study? When do you absorb better? Is it in the morning? Is it late in the night? Is it in the evening? You know? So which one works for you? So what you do, I will be waking you up. You've said it is in the morning? So what I'm going to do, I know you struggle with waking up, I'll wake you up at 5. Is 5 okay? No, Dad, let's do it 5:30. You are already achieving what you want. Okay, 5:30. Okay, so what will you do tomorrow? So you go and come up with a schedule, then we look at that schedule together when I come back from work. The child is going to be so excited to make the schedule because he's having a teammate. He's having support system. He's not alone. But when we judge our children and put them together with a grade, the children start defining themselves with that, with a problem. You know, now this D has brought problems. Now the child is having a conversation with himself and the grade. And you are not part of that team. So we need to separate our children from the skills and the things that we want to correct, and not combine the two. When we combine the two, then they are on the other team, you are on this other team. And most of the time with teenagers who now wants to ask questions, it is just a matter of time. And that's why there are some teenagers that have asked their fathers, you know, can I also see your report card? You've really
you've been on my case.
You've been on my case of this and this, but Dad, what did you get? You know? So, and then at that point in time, you're a little bit confused, and you don't know what to answer, because now the child is challenging you. And then now, what do? The default that all our parents do, you bring in the authority part.
Become the boss.
You become the boss. Say, this is my house, you do as I say. And you don't need to question me. We are getting it wrong completely. We must be on one team with our children and now deal with every other thing that you want to deal with. Is it behavior? Is it grades? Is it planning? You know? So it's a lot more of teamwork.
Teamwork, yeah. Yes. I'm getting so much, because one thing that has stuck on my mind is that parenting is training, yeah? It's training. So when I shared this post about our conversation today on social media, most parents reached in my DMs, and after analyzing the questions, I have come up with 3 that were just forming the same. One parent was asking me, Mwalimu, how do you encourage high school students to study at home? Once they land for holidays, they tend to relax and prefer just chilling and watching.
One straight answer. They are studying for the parents. We took our children to school and we gave them our ambitions. We told them what we wanted. We told them our expectations. They were never involved in that conversation. And therefore, they have no reason to work hard to achieve your ambitions. So they are just doing bare minimum, just in case my dad wants a B. If it comes, well, I will present it to him. I will go back to teamwork. You are now going to school. Mercy, you're going to school. What do you think you want to achieve? Do you have goals? Mercy, what is your goal? You know, what are the subjects that you like? We are not involving our children in the conversation of achievement. We are not. It is about us. And then we are struggling on why our children not studying. They're not studying because they don't have anything to study towards. They don't have goals. So when I talk to students and even parents, I tell parents, please let us bring our children into the conversation. Academic achievement is teamwork, and as a teacher, you know, there are a lot of things that plays towards academic achievement. But most of the time, and even some of us teachers make this mistake, we do not bring the children or our students into the conversation of success. We want to reach there. So when I'm doing mentorship, I always talk about a vision board. So every person, every student makes for me a vision board. How does your vision board look like? These are the subjects I'm doing. These are the grades I want to get. Now, put them, the grades you want to get, not the grades I want you to get. You want to get an A in mathematics. You want to get a B in biology, for example. That is your vision. It is on your vision board. This is the kind of university you want to go to. This is the kind of career you want to pursue. This is the kind of car you want to drive later. You want to earn this kind of money. Put it in your vision board. Now, when it is in your vision board, which is made by yourself, your duty as a parent, as a teacher, as an adult in that child's life is to help them now walk the journey from where they are to that vision. So basically, the mistake that our parents are doing is that we are pushing our children, go and read, go and read. Do we have a definite destination of this reading that you want your child to read? Why are they reading? To get grades. For what? Why an A and not a B? Have we explained to them? Where are we going? So we need, as a team, we need to define where we are going. When we know where we are going together as a team with our children, then we know the route to take. And because there are people who have walked that journey and they've walked that road, now our duty is to guide and say there's a bump here, so go slow. There's a corner here, go slow and make a right turn, because we have walked that road. But if we don't know where we are going, how do we expect our children to start walking? Walking to where? So we must be able to help our children to set goals. We must help them to set visions, and they must be part of the conversation.
I'm getting that, because when you talk about teamwork, now we've said parenting is training. So you are now a coach.
You become a coach.
Yes. Question 2. Nowadays, punishing teenagers is like next to impossible. We prefer talking to them and addressing the issues. But at times, it still doesn't work. How do we get to go about it?
Teenage is a very interesting stage. Teenage is a very interesting stage. And I think it is the easiest stage to deal with. But as parents, we are struggling because of, I would say, two things. Number one is lack of knowledge on how teenagers think and how the transformation between childhood to the teenage. That transformation parents don't understand. That transformation, and as I said, that the brain develops in stages. And when they reach the point of 13, 14 and moving forward, they now have the reasoning. Now when the reasoning comes in, they are supposed to be involved. Now when we involve teenagers in conversations and listen to their point of view, then we are able to deconstruct that and redirect. But the issue is you have conditioned your child into punishment. So from 0 to around 10, your communication or your way of correcting behavior has been punishment. Now, that happens when the part of the brain that reasons has not fully developed. And therefore, they are not able to ask why. Now, you have the same formula. They hit 13. You still want to continue with the punishment. And now, they have reached a stage where they can ask why. Now, they're asking you, but why this? Mom, why are you punishing me? And even my brother did the same, and you didn't punish. Why are you punishing me? And I read in a book, my teacher said, my uncle said, and even the president said, or the minister said, you know, they now have information. Now they're trying to develop their reasoning capacity. That is the easiest part of parenting. But parents struggle with that the most. Why? Because they extend childhood beyond where it's supposed to be. Childhood ends at 0 to 9. Actually, nowadays it is even coming down. But 10, 11, 12, now boys think they are men. And I will tell the mothers, especially the single parents, if you bringing up a son, and when they hit 13, 14, they have been sharing with you everything. That point in time, now in their minds, they become men. And what do men do? Men protect women. So they start protecting their mothers. And they will not tell you what is stressing them. They will not tell you the hard things they are going through, because they will stress you. So the fact that they are going to stress you, you become like any other woman in their life. You and their girlfriend, you're the same. So the mothers are like, my boy used to be a good friend of mine. You know, we used to have conversations, but since my child got to Form 2, nowadays he's always in his room. He only answers what I ask. It is because he has reached that stage. And that is why it is important for now a male figure, the father, to step in, because now they need to have a man-to-man talk. So it is difficult for a mother to now bring up a teenager. They struggle because of that part, that element. And that's why if you're a single parent, you need to bring in a brother. You need to bring in a male person who is responsible, who can now bring in the man out of the boy. Same to the girls with their fathers, the same. It happens. When you have a girl who is 13, that is your co-wife as a mother. That automatically becomes your co-wife. You start having competition and now competing for this man. So you need to raise your standards. You need to raise your standards as a mother. Because you now have a teenage daughter, you don't need to have those conversations that is going to bring you into a competition. If they want time with their dad, let them have time. Because that becomes their first boyfriend. And I can tell you, most of the ladies who are married, they were looking for the father in their boyfriends.
Hey,
that's it.
Yeah, Mr. Odhiambo.
If you have 50% of their father, you're good to go. You already have your 50% done. Yes, because you have those traits. Because that was the first model of a man in their life. Exactly. So it's about understanding the transition. Teenagers are not difficult. We are not transforming. They are transforming, but we are not transforming. We are still stagnant where we were. So we need to transform with our children. As they move from one state to the other, we need to understand. And that is why parenting is a skill that every parent needs to learn. And if you ask me, I think all schools need to have compulsory parenting classes for the parents.
Yes. I want you to share with our viewers today, tell them about the book, how they can get it, and please also talk about the book launch that is going to happen very soon.
Okay. Okay, so for the viewers, we are having a very exciting book that is written in chapters, very easier to understand. So you don't, it's not a novel, so you can read the chapter that appeals to you or the areas that you really want to understand. So this book is basically going for 1,500 Kenya shillings, and you can get it through ordering through our social media handles, which is Parenting Corner. So we have Parenting Corner, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and even YouTube. So you just need to inbox, and we will be able to ship it to you wherever you are. But there is a launch that is coming up, and during the launch we'll be giving free copies to those who will attend. It will be on 8th of June this year. The venue we will communicate, but you will be all invited. Let's change our parenting style. Let's change how we make the future generation better than who we are by having the right skills to bring up these children better. Yeah.
Asante sana. Viewers, please make sure you follow up on Parenting Corner for more about Mr. Collins Odhiambo. Please keep in touch and also attend the book launch as he has stated. Asanteni sana. Thank you, sir. And
for those who want to reach out to me for any guidance, my number is 0724 997 819 for more details on this conversation. And your questions are welcomed, and we'll be able to tackle them when they come. Asante sana.
Thank you,
Teacher
sir.
on duty.
Asante sana.
I'm happy to be here, and I think we've had a good time.
We have, and I agree, and I know the viewers will agree that they've really benefited from this, and there's more in this. So please keep contact.
Yes.
Asante sana.
We wait for their comments.
Asante sana.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Asante sana.
Yeah.